Christina, and my teammate is Cherry, and I will be the one who's gonna talk first. So today we are going to talk about the first Opium War. So when did it happen? It took place in 1839 to 1842 CE during the Qing dynasty when Daoguang Empire was in power. Now you may ask, so what exactly happened caused the start of the war? As we have learned in the class, Chinese export way more than it imported because Chinese were not really interested in foreign products. They believed they have what they had. However, the Western countries were very interested in the Chinese products such as porcelain, tea, and silk. And of course, China is not gonna let go of this chance to earn money, right? So they placed strict restriction and control on foreign trade, limited the trade to just a few ports, and eventually just to one, the one in Guangzhou, or we can call it the Canton. Also, all trades will be taxed when it's imported, so traders didn't really make a lot of profit and a lot of smugglers started to arise. As a result, China is well off, but the Western countries were overspending on importing goods. The Britain realized the problem and decided to balance the trade by export more goods to China, and they mainly focus on the opium trade. Why? Because it's expensive and it's also addictive. And it turned out to be a big and serious problem to Chinese whose economy and society were being seriously affected by the huge importation of opium. Therefore, the Chinese attempted to suppress the trade. So, what is opium? Opium is a depressant drug. It slows down the message traveling between the body and the brain. The opium poppy pods hold a milky substance called latex that contains a number of chemicals. Latex is extracted from the opium pods and dried to create opium. There are pros and cons for using opium. The positive effects are it might be effective for relieving extreme pain. It can use as a cough suppressant and anti-diarrhea medication, or even for a sleep inducer. However, opium tends to have way more negative side effects than the positive one, such as coma, depression, and unconsciousness. But the major drawback of opium use is the potential for abuse and addiction. And now I'm going to show a short video clip of a man smoking opium. Yeah, so we can tell that he's addicted to the opium when he says, "When I smoke, I'm happy, and when I don't, I'm sick." And this is many cases of the Chinese people back in the days when they were addicted to opium. The Empire Daoguang, therefore the Empire Daoguang sent out Lin Zexu to suppress the trade of opium. Lin Zexu is the governor general and also the scholar official during the Qing dynasty. He was sent to suppress the trade of opium. Before the start of the war, Lin Zexu also wrote a letter to Queen Victoria in demanding an end to the opium abuse. He wrote, after a long period of commercial intercourse, there appear among the crowd of barbarians both good person and bad unevenly. Consequently, there are those who smuggle opium to seduce the Chinese people, and so the crowd of the spread of the poison to all provinces. Such persons who only care to profit themselves and disregard their harm to others are not tolerated by the laws of heavens and are unanimously hated by human beings. So basically what he's saying, he's telling the queen the seriousness of the use of opium in China and wanted the queen to take some action to prevent the situation getting worse. However, the queen ignored the letter, or some say she had never ever received the letter. So later, Lin Zexu proceeded to Guangzhou. He burned the opium he collected. He arrested thousands of opium smokers. He destroyed tens of thousands of opium pipes. Forced foreign merchants surrender their stock of opium for destruction. And he also wanted them to sign a bond agreement to guarantee they're never ever gonna deal with opium again. However, the British refused. The revolt of Britain. The British government was angry and sent out troops because of what Lin Zexu did. So the Empire Daoguang quickly dismissed Lin Zexu. However, the British want way more than just that, such as compensation. They sent out troops from Xiamen to Tianjin and from Guangzhou to Nanjing. And that's how the war started. And now Cherry's gonna take over the part and let you guys know more details about the war.
Alright, so basically as Christina mentioned that Britain wasn't very happy about China, that we refused to import more opium that get people more addicted. So Britain saw this as kind of offense to their privilege, so they started to have the war and fight. Well, basically the fight starts in 1839 November, and of course during that time China's pretty behind, and for among the industrial developments to all the European countries, we still doing a lot of agriculture, so we got defeated. And that time, Britain trying to have negotiation with us. Basically, according to the research, they demanded compensation and the granting of an island off the coast for the use of a trading station. So basically, they want to have all this ocean port for them to use for the trade to have more benefit from the racial stuff. But of course, Chinese refused. So on January 7th, 1841, the British actually captured the Bogil Fort. And very soonly in January 18th, Hong Kong was given to Britain, which after that time, Hong Kong was kind of basically occupied for the Britain for over 100 years. Well, it actually comes with a lot of defeat since Britain started with the strategy to get the benefit from China, and they planned that out since a long time ago. So the Chinese kept refusing back down. According to research, the British advanced up the Pearl River with a reinforced military contingent and capturing Canton in 27 May 1841. During that time, although China was defeated, but China still need to pay reparations of 60,000 RMB. So it got defeated bad, it lost a lot of financial state and also a lot of human casualties as well, but Chinese still have to pay big amount of money for Britain to get a refund for their war lose and also their opium wars lose. And according to the strategy for British, they keep moving forward. the British moved to north again, captured a city called Amoy on 26th to 27th August 1841. And Ningbo was the city that I'm quite familiar with. It's a coastal city. They do a lot of international trade during that time. Ningbo was captured on a post on 13 October before the operation was suspended for the winter. So basically, the whole season for the trade is actually taken over by British, and China is gradually losing their authorities on the international trade and also their authority to make their decision to have their financial growth. Alright, but among all this defeat and all these tragedies, it doesn't mean Chinese people don't fight for themselves. The government wasn't doing that good. A lot of leaders, they were smoking opium, they got addicted, they kind of dreaming every day, and also the bureaucracy was pretty bad. But many Chinese people who are living close to the coastal region place, they actually trying really hard to unite together to defend for their country. So they only surrendered after their defense had been destroyed and their enclosure set on fire by rocket. So imagine that their home was actually attacked by enemies. They actually stayed together and they didn't give up to their dignity and also their home right until everything is fully destroyed. And of course, their effort actually made some progress. So 9 British soldiers and sailors were killed and 55 wounded. It's actually pretty impressive during that time because according to the British team, they have way more advanced technologies and most of them they actually got hurt during the fight. And yeah, so this fight is actually got pointed out called the assault on Captu. And one of the dead is actually a leader of the regiment at that time. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Tomlinson. He's actually commander of the 18th Regiment. Alright, so after all this defeat and the failure, China started to sign its first unfair treaty, which is the Treaty of Nanjing. So it is signed in August 29th, 1842. So basically, they have to pay British a large indemnities. So basically, some people, it's not very fully evident yet, but it is saying that they have to pay Hong Kong for 200,000 RMB for their war loss, for their social loss, and also for the trade loss. It just basically China is giving out all their money and become like half occupied country and half very conservative society. They have to officially give up Hong Kong. Hong Kong wasn't back until 1997, and still there are a lot of political things going on. And they have to increasing the treaty port for British to get more privilege on the trading to China, and also British basically taking over with all the international trade. And there's another treaty called Treaty of Opium, so it was signed on October 8th, 1843. So basically, it says gave British citizens extraterritoriality and most favored nation status. So with that, basically, they are not restrained by Chinese laws or Chinese trading rule. They can do whatever benefit the most for them, for the British to trade their product to here. For example, they can trade their clothes, their sheep furs, and they can also export for our silk and also tea to the country, and they are actually getting way better deal than they used to have. All these treaties is very unequal. It's pretty shameful page in Chinese history. They give foreigners privileged status and extract concessions from the Chinese. So, and what ironically is the Qing government is actually at first they had fully supported the clause in territory and most favored nation status, and basically this is very wrong decision. It makes China become very devastated after the foreign countries doing all this destroyed treaty with China. And it marked a new direction for Chinese contact with the outside world. So that time a lot of Europe countries like Italy, like France, even Japan, they actually start to attack China, and they see China as a very beneficial status for them to win all this power from the world. It's also a new journal for China to start to get in touch with the world, and also defense for their own country dignity. All right, so that's all about our presentation. Here's the bibliography. Thank you.